So we see with The Haunting of Hill House, episode 2, Open Casket, that it's another character-centric episode. And this time it's Shirley. And I love shows that do this where they center on one character. Shows like Lost, The Leftovers, and you can really do some great character work there and character building and dive into this person's mind and what they're all about. And it really works great here. It has a strong theme in this episode, and we really learn her character type, which is she's the fixer, and she wants control of everything. So jumping into this episode, it opens up with Shirley jumping up and waking up again, panting. Nellie's in the red room. And it's at the same time everyone panted the last episode at 03 on the hour. So she's also connected to her siblings in this way. And this red room they're referring to has to be that red door they couldn't open with the key as kids. That's also in the opening credits. Any theories you have about what is behind this door, let me know. Again, on this video we only talk about this episode, no spoilers for further into the season. So then we jump to yesterday as a flashback, and this kid Max at the funeral home tells Shirley he still keeps seeing his dead grandma appear and that he doesn't want to see an open casket. And Shirley's selling it to him like it's a great way to put a better picture on the dead. So we learn Shirley here is a mortician and she's the funeral director, which go hand in hand usually. And we get this creepy montage of her fixing up the grandma. With the narration in the background, she will look just like you remember, like she always did. It almost looks like the imagery here of the grandma in there looks like something from one of the Saw movies. So then we cut to way in the past when Shirley was a kid and her mom showing her the plans for the Forever House. And we learn the mom designs these houses and then the father builds them. So their plan was to fix up Hill House, sell it for a ton, and then build their dream house called Forever House. And when Nellie comes in and says she wants to have a tea party outside, and her and Shirley agree to just go outside in general, the mom says, when I flash the porch light twice, it means time to come home. So remember this from later if anyone catches why this was important at the end of the episode, and we'll definitely get to that. And then we get this quick shot of the dad asking Mr. Dudley if he actually has a key that opens that red door. And Mr. Dudley's like, not for that one. So very strange. So again, I like the mystery they build up in this show. So we see young Shirley finds in a shed outside some sick baby kittens. And this starts at Shirley being the fixer theme and the savior, wanting to help these kittens. And her just taking a photo of this wasp nest, they still made something like that scary, which is impressive. I jumped a bit, but the more important thing was the nest was built around a Halloween mask, which we'll get to in a second. But Shirley mentions those dogs that could hurt the kittens that the kids are only hearing at night. Mr. Dudley's shocked by this, saying we don't stay on the property after dark. I've never seen dogs. So there's another mystery building of what are these dogs and why are the kids the only ones hearing them. So back to that mask, it directly cuts from seeing that mask in Mr. Dudley's hands to current time where Shirley's son has the mask. It's a make your own mask, but he's mentioning to her he doesn't want to use that. He wants to just be Daredevil. Nice subliminal advertising, Netflix. We know Daredevil's your hit superhero TV show. Of course they're going to say that superhero and plop that in people's heads subconsciously to turn that on later. I wasn't crazy about that, to be honest. Please leave the business out of the actual art. And I love Daredevil too, don't get me wrong. An important line from the son here is, if our masks don't look good enough, ghosts will come for us. So this is hinting directly to what might have went down with that mask back in the day they found in the shed. That there were masks made on that property to hide from the ghosts. I love the show is making hints in different timelines and connecting them, having one hint in the future to something that happened in the past, or vice versa. Really well done. We also learn here that Shirley doesn't believe in ghosts, just like Steven. And we see Shirley has a model of this Forever House in her office with a picture of her mom behind it. So she clearly still has a dream of making this house and is still holding on dearly to her mother. So then we see Max's father come in with the purple box, and it has pictures of Shirley's mom in her jewelry. And then Shirley has a quick flash of a man in a suit with scotch appear on the couch, and it feels like she has some guilt after seeing this, the expression on her face. Who could this man be? What is that? Any theories, let me know down below. Did she have some sort of affair? Is it someone that had to do with her mother's death? Someone investigating it? I wonder. Then we learn Luke is back in rehab, and then it cuts to the first time Shirley put Luke in rehab with Steven. And Luke has no insurance here, and they want $6,000 a month because of it. So Shirley pays for it herself. She really puts her neck out there. Always the nurturer. And all the siblings are at Luke's first rehab, and they're like, he can do it. But remember too, Steven doesn't have this money yet, because he's not a successful author yet. And she mentions that, like, one day you can get me back when you're a famous author. They obviously have a huge tiff later on in life, so I'm sure money has something to do with that as well. Another little layered thing they throw in here with Shirley is she found her husband has separate money accounts, which made her very concerned. So take note of these little things because they'll obviously build up later. Then we see Shirley in the past showing little Nell and Luke how to feed these kitties milk. And then we get a nice exterior of the house, and hear those dogs barking that were mentioned. And then when Shirley's in bed at night, Theo comes into Shirley's room flipping out about the banging noise. I love this sequence here when they're both scared on the bed and the camera's panning from left to right and all the frames are just banging against the wall. What I like about Flanagan's directing is he lets the camera breathe and hang there for a bit, and it makes it more terrifying. And he doesn't overdo the spooky music or crazy violins that kind of kill what's coming. Kind of just lets it breathe and be silent, so you're just like, what is going on? Which works way more effective, at least on me, to be scared. Then the dad comes in, he says it's just hot water pipes. And then the father turns into a monster here, and Shirley wakes up in present time. So this is a nightmare she's having mixed with what actually happened. And she screams when she wakes up, it's pipes. Going back to that denial mindset here that Steven has as well, that they are feeding to feel comfort and not actually think maybe this is all real. Or we're seeing the opposite with Nell, is just someone who fully embraces it and believes. So Steve calls Shirley and tells her the bad news that Nell is dead. And he says she killed herself. But Shirley's like, Dad's wrong. They got it wrong. Steve's like, he's not really 100% sure she killed herself, but that's what the dad said. And Shirley says an interesting line where she's like, he can't do this again, not tell us what actually happened. So again, them losing someone like their mother in the house and they're just told it was a suicide. Is this really what's going on? They're trusting their dad twice now? With his information, what is he hiding? And I really don't believe either of them was suicides. That would be too easy. So that's going to be interesting to find out. And Shirley lays into Steve here that he didn't listen to her to help Nell. Great acting by Shirley here. What's special about her acting in this episode is she's not overdoing it, where in the type of role where someone's kind of always on edge and trying to help people and be the fixer and stressed, they can overdo it and overact. And that could be a crutch you fall into, but she does not. She does it so realistically and believable. Think about how much backstory these actors have to create in their head in each given scene to make sense with how their behavior is. So props to the actors, props to the writers, and props to the director getting this all on a believable same page. That is a daunting task for such deep characters and deep story. So we go to the past, where Shirley wakes up in her bed and immediately checks on the kittens. And there's a kitten dead in the group, and the mom decides to put that kitten in the same purple box we see in the future. And little Shirley's like, can I see it? So already we're getting the hint she loves an open casket. This writing's really on point. And the mom's like, when we die, we turn to stories. We're all stories in the end. Is this another possible hint at this just being Steve's book most of the season that he wrote, The Haunting of Hill House? How much of this is actually just from his perspective? And Shirley says she was a good kitten. Never hurt a thing her whole life. Not many people can say that. Her talking about this kitten is also who Shirley really is. She's someone who doesn't want to hurt anything and is generally a good person. But then she sees this kitten is moving and a bug comes out. But it seems like the parents don't see it. So this is the beginning of some trauma for her. Her first time handling death for something she loves, which will come back later in the episode. Back in current time, Shirley wants to take care of preparing Nell for her funeral all by herself, which is absolutely crazy. And I agree with Theo and the husband here telling her, don't do this. But she wants to do it. This is her controlling side. And she wants to be one who fixes her sister. But Theo asks if that would give Dad and Luke time to get to the funeral. And Shirley's like, Dad's the reason Nell is messed up in the first place. And Luke is probably high as a kite. So what is starting to shape out even just from that line is that Nell obviously really took her dad's words for truth. And they're the believers here in the supernatural. As Shirley and Steven are clearly on the opposite end, where you have to see totally where the other ones fit. But I like how they're shaping it out with that conflict. But then we also learn that Luke pieced from rehab early already, and they have no idea where he is. And Shirley's like, I'm not waiting for Luke to get his crap together and delay Nellie's funeral. I agree with Shirley there. So there's a lot of sense being made on both sides in the scene. So then we see the funeral service of the grandma of this kid Max. But he doesn't want to go see her in the open casket, but Shirley ends up giving Max a pep talk to look at his grandma there. And this beautifully flips to the past and symmetrically to when Shirley's in a similar situation, not wanting to see her mom's open casket, but this funeral director she meets convinces her to go with her. So back in the current time, this show moves. It's flipping timelines back and forth really fast. I love it. Keeping you on your toes. The husband's still trying to sway Shirley not to do this. And Shirley's like, she must. She knows her family best. And she's like, Nell was also in the house for hours. And she mentions insects. She's like, the hours, the bugs, I'm doing it, Kevin. So it's interesting she's mentioning these bugs because that's also the symbol of her trauma from the bug coming out of the cat's mouth. But she's like, I'm gonna fix her. And she's always a fixer. Tried with the kitten, tried with Luke. Now she's doing it with Nellie. Now we cut to the scene where Shirley's actually opening the body bag of Nell. And it's very sad. Right when she sees her sister's face, just the emotion Elizabeth Reeser displays on her face is really well done. And Steve calls and says he can't find Luke. And the best line of the episode goes to Shirley, where she's like, you know what I'm doing right now? I'm elbow deep in your sister's chest cavity, pulling out a bag of her internal organs. You have to get 2 grown men to a goddamn airport. Get it done. So go Shirley there. I was rooting for her, kind of laying into Steven with his passive-aggressive laziness. Then we go back to the past, and the mom's telling Shirley, kittens aren't supposed to be without their mom. No matter how much you love them, you're not their mommy. And again, this felt like it was talking about Shirley in a way, where she will eventually lose her mother, and how much stress and trauma that's put on her, and how it would be problematic. So the mom tells her she found a new home for the last sick cat, and Shirley flips at this, the same way she was flipping about them suggesting her not handling Nell's funeral, that instant loss of control. And then the mom snaps and freaks out, like, stop, and she has a crazy migraine. And the mom then is in a scene recovering from the migraine with the father and says to the husband that Shirley will have a messed up view of death because of this. And she flips on the dad for letting her keep a box of diseased cats. And what I loved about this argument the mom and dad have is it shows that as parents you can only do the best you can, and both sides are kind of right here. And you still will have traumas affect your children. It's part of life. It's part of humanity. And the show portrays it really, really well in a cool, sickly, horrific way. And seeing Shirley develop this trauma around death and losing control of someone is pretty nuts. And then the next shot of Shirley stitching her sister together, good God, that was disturbing. But I respect the show, not afraid to go there. Again, felt like something from a Saw movie, and it's so weird because you know it's her sister she's doing this with. And then the kids knock on the door, and she handles teaching her kids a different way about this stuff. She won't lie about it like her mom did. She tells it straight how it is. So this confirms she was affected in a bad way by her mother lying to her. She didn't like that. So it adds a nice parenting debate for sure of how to handle serious topics like this. So nice touch too about her putting the makeup on her sister's face here and it cutting to her doing it for her on her wedding day. Obviously highlighting why a family member shouldn't be doing this job. It will just set off triggers everywhere. And in this flashback, Shirley sees Luke shows up to the wedding and she gets protective of her sister here and doesn't want him there, especially because he's high, and puts tough love on Luke when she's like, should have thought about it before you put the needle in your arm. This is Nell's day. I don't want you to ruin it. And she's obviously fed up for paying for everything for Luke, and he keeps screwing up. But then when she goes back into the room with Nell and sends Luke off, Nell says, everything okay? And Shirley's like, everything's fine. You're going to have the perfect wedding. And Nell says, almost perfect. Then boom, cuts to Shirley in current time dropping that brush she was using. And it, to me, this shows regret. That it was the wrong choice of her leaving Luke out of that wedding. It may be what Shirley wouldn't want at her wedding, but it isn't what Nell would have wanted. Nell wanted Luke there, and now she knows that for sure. So it also shows that conflict of when you're looking out for someone, protecting someone. Is it from your own perspective, or are you able to protect someone from theirs? Clearly Nell's a person rather just see her brother, even if he's all high, than not at all. Or Shirley's the opposite. This is genius editing and writing here in this scene. Now it's just showing off how good it is. It's so good. And having it edit to her dropping the brush from past time to current time is just phenomenal. And then seeing her cry here in current time really hits hard, and she says, I'm sorry. But then she sees the bug come out of her sister's mouth, just like the kitten, and this is hitting at her trauma and dealing with death. But is she really seeing these bugs? Are these bugs real? And then we get a flashback here of Shirley again at the funeral service of her mom, and now the funeral director and her made it to the casket, and she's like, you fixed her. And he's like, that's what I do. So there's where that dream job clicked in her head. Of course a fixing type personality would be a mortician. That's really cool they showed that happen. Perfectly wraps us all around. I mean, can you do a character's first background story episode any better than this? What more can you want? But then we go to current time, we get the spooks here. The mom pops up. She's super creepy. And the purple box has the cat screaming in it. So it's almost like they're ramping the horror up in the show slowly. They don't want to blow all their hits right away. It is a full season show. It's not just a movie. So if you're waiting for more screams and scares here, they're clearly just preheating everything right now. And again, what is real and what isn't? Was that really a ghost or not? Or is this all just, again, mental illness? And then that last shot of Shirley in the funeral home and she's going to bed, and you see in the corner of the screen the Forever House model version. And the porch light flashes twice, and it means it's time to come home. That's the mom's way. So is that automatically set on that house when the lights go out? Is that the mom's ghost in the house? We shall see, but what a nice touch. You gotta catch these things. So my thoughts on this episode is, please take in each scene in this show. Watch this episode twice and watch it while you have energy. Don't watch it the wrong way, you're wasting it. I caught so much more the second time I watched it and really appreciate it then. I'm gonna give this episode 9.5 for spectacular writing, editing, and the acting of Shirley. I love they're doing character-centric episodes so far, all around this haunted house. Love the growth they're showing of these kids and how their lives have changed and affected each other. It feels so fresh and down to earth, this show, without trying too hard, while mixing in terror and mystery. Let's keep this streak up. Please let me know your thought of this episode down below. Please, no show spoilers past this episode. Only leave comments about this episode and theories about stuff in the future if you haven't seen any episodes after this one. Please let me know though, did you like this episode a lot? Did you not? Love to hear your thoughts on that. Please subscribe so you don't miss one of my reviews of The Haunting of Hill House. I'll be reviewing each episode so you don't want to miss one. And please follow me at SteveVarley1 on Twitter and Instagram for more of me. And I'll see you next time.